Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another trek to Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We're on Redundant Reincarnation, Volume 3, Chapter 10, Part 2. Gonna finish out this volume, get it done, get it over with, move on to other things. I don't really know yet where we're going after this. I've been told about Nanahoshi's Gourmet. I don't really know at this point. I'm just kind of, I'll decide over the week, and at that point, we'll get around to it. But yes, for now, let's finish out this one. Hey, chat. How's it going? Thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday. But yes, I greatly appreciate your guys' kind words, your support, all that stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yes, most importantly, greatly appreciate my sports channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships. That stuff keeps this stuff going. You guys are absolutely amazing. Last week, Silver with a super. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Rose Moith with a whole bunch of supers, as usual. Just kind of sprinkle them out there. Thank you so much for your support. Inferno Torch with a gifted membership. Just randomly threw to Adrian. I'm not sure why you gave them a gifted membership. They weren't even in chat. I don't think they were even in the chat. But thank you for that support. Diego with a super. Thank you so much for your support. And Sergio Donna with 30 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your long time support. But yes, with that said, I just want to jump right into it. We're going to get the rest of Epilogue, Chapter 10, and then we're going to move on into Refugion's letter. I don't really know what's actually in the letter, but I think it's supposedly about this volume, which obviously, as we see now, is pretty controversial. It has its problems, its ups and downs, but we'll see as we get into it. But yes, Chapter 10, Epilogue, Part 2. After that, the first thing I needed to do, now that I was recognized as an adult, well, it was obvious. Preparations. I was going to pick up Aisha. That said, heading to the kingdom of Asura with nothing but the clothes on my back wouldn't be right. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, if you're eager to see her, just go, boy. I mean, it just wouldn't be right. After all, I'm going to pick up the woman I'm going to marry. There's a certain way you're supposed to do that, right? This sounds like Rudius. Are we going to act like Rudius? I mean, Rudius had his conflicts because he was used to his previous world, and he didn't really know what to do in this new world. I figure he probably got something picked up on this whole situation, right? You got to get a house, apparently. Is he going to go to Asura Kingdom and buy a house before he goes to see her? But I didn't really know what that was. I mean, ever since Aisha and I separated, I haven't had any involvement with that sort of thing. There were times I was asked out, or even tempted, sure, but I never accepted. So I didn't know what came after that, let alone doing it from my side. It was a completely unknown world for me. That's why I went to my father for advice. Oh, damn. It's like there's a side of me that's like, yay, thank you, Rudius and Otis moment together for once. But the other side is like, sure, we'll see. He's going to say get a house. He had welcomed 3 wives after all, so I figured he would know a lot about that sort of thing. The first one that he brought in was because she drugged him, he petted her, and then he bought a house to bring her into because that's what everybody said. The second one, he was depressed because of his father's death, and she was doing him in order to save his life before he brought her into the house, and the first one accepted it. The third one came and saved his butt before the wives accepted him before he even did. There's nothing normal about his relationships. How should I go about picking up Aisha? I haven't really had that much interaction with girls, so I don't know what to do. But you're knowledgeable about that stuff, right, Papa? But my father made a bitter face. Yeah, I actually don't have much experience with that myself. Apparently, my father didn't really have that much experience with going to pick up girls himself. He looked troubled, groaned thoughtfully, and told me about how he met and reunited with my mom's, trying to think it through. Just do everything you possibly think of. It's Aisha. We both know she'll gladly accept you, no matter how you show up. That's what he managed to say in the end, squeezing the words out. Nothing specific. I mean, at least he's being honest. Don't try to play it up. Don't try to create some sort of bravado about what you did there. Just speak it clear. Out of all the reunion stories with my mamas, the only use for one seemed to be rushing in while she was in danger. The Roxy one? But I obviously couldn't use that. I didn't want to go so far as to have Aisha attacked by thugs just to save her. So basically, I'm supposed to figure it out myself. Just wing it. Just as I was starting to give up. However, I do know someone who's good at this stuff. Father added that and introduced me to someone in that. I was about to say Ellen Lease, but she's in Millis. It would have to be somebody up north. Nobody knows about romance that's up there right now. There's nobody up there that's like romantic. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm sorry. Father out of that introduced me to someone. He said this guy was the biggest playboy he could think of. Someone used to situations like this. A playboy? Luke? I guess he's going that direction. He can introduce him to Luke. The person who popped up into my mind was great grandma Emily's, but apparently it wasn't her. Yeah, again, she's in Millis. Still, he really is a playboy. So I don't know if Aisha will take his advice. Just treat it as general knowledge. And absolutely don't misuse it. He warned me firmly. It felt like he introduced me to a wizard from a fairy tale or something. I remember being kind of excited. And so, the place I was brought to was the royal castle of Osra. Yep, Luke. It's gotta be Luke. Why Luke? I mean, he swoons some girls, but it always plays it off like a lot of that has to do with his looks. Not necessarily like he's great at that stuff. He's just really good looking. Before I knew it, I'd been brought up to the upper levels and into what looked like a lavish office. I'd been to the royal castle a few times before. Not after eloping with Aisha, of course. But before that, I remember being brought here for a few parties. It's an overwhelmingly luxurious world. If not for the war, I'd want you guys to experience it at least once. Just to see what true upper class life was like back then. Interesting. This implies the idea that what Osra Kingdom once was, that lavish life of the palace and all that kind of stuff, that inner palace lifestyle, that luxuriousness, isn't even present in what they currently have. Yes, they're obviously at war, and thus they can't just go, okay, let's go strolling in the Osra Kingdom right now and go see Ariel or whoever's there right now, obviously not Ariel. Whoever replaced Ariel, let's go see them and check out that place. But it also kind of implies to me that what's in the northern region right now isn't really luxurious. They're not living it up is really the case there, which makes sense because the reason why Osra Kingdom was the way it was, and I would assume that Ariel was still enjoying a lot of that stuff, is because they were comfortable. They were being lazy. That was the whole point of why Derek wanted her to take over. They were being lazy. They were being consumptious. They were being luxurious and fat on their own power. However, that night, it was already late, so there wasn't much glitter or sparkle. I've been busy lately, you know? The room we were shown to had one man in it, Luke Notos Greyrat, yep, the head of the 7 Knights of Osra. Lady Ariel's right-hand man, a famous figure, not particularly skilled in swordsmanship, but extremely capable in politics and manipulating people. When I was taken to a party once, I remember Sieg talking about him excitedly. How does Sieg know about him? Secondhand stories, I guess? Even if he's good at handling people, he didn't seem like the type of guy you'd go to for advice about picking up a girl. At least, that's what I thought. But later, when I asked others, they all said he was the perfect choice. I didn't know much myself, but apparently, he was quite the ladies' man in his younger days. It kind of gives that appearance there because, yes, Rudius is bringing him to Luke because Rudius knows this guy was, like, surrounded by women back in school. This guy had something. He had something about him that was bringing in the ladies. So Rudius seen that side of him. And so, for once doing something for his son, Rudius brings him to the logical choice. But it's implying here that now that Otis is meeting him, now that he's changed a bit, now that he has his position in the castle, in the royalty there, in helping Ariel, he looks different. He seems different. He's surrounded by knowledge, and he's a working dude. So there's that contrast there, the two of them seeing. So, I heard you wanted to ask me about a girl. What, did you get a noble's daughter pregnant during school or something? Luke. My son would never do something like that. It's worse. The problem, it's worse. He wouldn't do that. He just got the maid pregnant. He just ran away from home, caused an entire global disaster before getting her maid pregnant. I've got full details on his dating life, but if he's going to attend the Osra Royal Academy, he better be prepared for noble daughters to come after him. Why? Her Majesty Ariel wants her child to marry your son. I imagine she'll be set up with rather plain-looking decoys to make the princess seem even more appealing. Interesting. Stop it. My kid already has someone he's got his heart set on, so don't go tempting him. I'm joking. Well, mostly. But at the very least, you better be prepared for at least one princess to come his way. Father and Lord Luke seem to be on good terms, and we're having that kind of conversation. Lord Luke said it was a joke, but to be honest, after I started attending the Royal Academy, it wouldn't be wrong to say there was temptations. Yeah, I can totally see that. Again, he's going to be a nobility, but again, his father's very powerful and very well known. A lot of people are going to want to get on that. Ariel's doing that, obviously, for that same reason, But a lot of other people are going to go and do that. Get chumming with them. Some of them were really attractive, big-chested and all. But I had Aisha, so I didn't fall for any of that. Seriously. Unlike his father, he's very faithful. How's Aisha doing? You haven't made a move on her, have you? If you have, I'll destroy this castle. It's like, you better stay away from Aisha. I'm not so desperate for women that I'd go after your family. I admit, Aisha is attractive, but even more than that, she's extremely capable. Still, no matter how capable she is, once they get tangled up in romance, it never ends well. I've deliberately stayed away from her. Again, she's technically working for Ariel right now, or assisting her in some way. So it's interesting to kind of imply the idea that he doesn't get tangled up with people in romance when it comes to that business because it causes problems. It's a good mindset. I guess he technically could be implying the idea that since she is romantically connected to someone, he knows damn well not to get involved because it doesn't end well. I guess that could mean that as well. And I think they sort of implied that with that one perspective chapter with Luke, that it seemed like he was going after certain people, but I believe they implied one lady that he was going after, her husband wasn't around anymore. Even if you tried, my little Aisha wouldn't fall for someone like you. Don't let your pretty face go to your head. I get it. Jeez, you're no fun at all. Well, let's get to the main topic. You can't have my Aisha. After graduating from the Royal Academy, Aisha worked at the Osra Royal Castle. She told me that she was only helping out with the office work under Lady Ariel, but people around her described it as a level of performance that could be called reformative. The rules Aisha created back then were apparently still in effect in the Kingdom of Osra even now. Deets? Details? Details, please? I mean, Ariel and Luke especially, was already doing this. This was something they were already doing. They were really changing a lot of stuff in there. It was a slow process because you still had a lot of people that were tied in with what was currently set up, but they were working on it. Well, I don't really know that much about Osra's internal affairs these days. We're in a state of diplomatic isolation, after all. After Lady Ariel passed away, I imagine that Osra Kingdom changed quite a bit too. We still haven't had answers about this. Like, we started off this volume with me going, WTF is going on between these two nations? They were supposed to be all in Orsted's pocket. What happened? What exactly happened after Ariel went away? It's not going to get into it. She doesn't hold much formal power. She's treated as a guest commander from the Rudo Mercenary Corps and as Rudius' little sister, but she has virtually no position within Osra's internal political structure. That said, she's competent and sociable, so she's well liked everywhere. If she were to leave the Mercenary Corps and come here, there are many people who'd offer her suitable position. Of course, Lady Ariel feels the same. In fact, she's hoping you both come together. Interesting that they still list her as guest commander from Rudo Mercenary Corps and as Rudius' little sister. I would assume that they would have banished her from the Mercenary Corps as well. And she supposedly left the family, so why are they still listing her as Rudius' little sister? I mean, that's a whole thing where even if you do exile her, even if you do kick her from the registry or whatever, people still know who she is. Let's not be crazy here. She's still going to be known as Rudius' little sister, which is one of the reasons why I think this whole thing is stupid. The whole idea of banishing her, exiling her from the family, removing her from the registry, none of that makes any sense because, one, she's going to end up back in it, and two, nobody cares. None of that really kind of fits. I think the bigger question mark is guest commander from the Rudo Mercenary Corps. Again, treated as. Not that that's her position. That's what Lord Luke said to me, but I shook my head. No, I intend to work under Lord Orsted directly, just like my father. If you're succeeding Rudius, we won't try to force you. That said, and there it is. And I knew that was coming. I mean, that's literally what we've seen in the future timeline. And the beginning segments of this volume, he's literally taken that place. So it's cool to see that he's already right here. No, I'm going to take my dad's position. If you're succeeding Rudius, we won't try to force you. That said, Aisha is held in high regard by the people of this kingdom. If you don't pick her up properly, with dignity and show due respect, it won't reflect well. The entire kingdom? I guess it would probably just be leadership and whatnot. Girl has done a lot while she's away, and I would figure a lot of that stuff would be behind the scenes. It's kind of odd that a lot of this stuff seems to be public, that Aisha's doing this stuff. And maybe that's the reason why we have a war in the future is because he stole her away. Ariel declares war because they took Aisha away. I think I was a bit overwhelmed. All I wanted to do was to go pick up Aisha now that I was an adult. I hadn't considered anything like political power struggles or factions. I mean, technically, Lady Ariel's forces are aligned with Lord Orsted's, so we were allies organizationally. I get that I should show proper courtesy in that regard, but still. He's like, I just came here to get my girl. It's just turning into like this big political thing. We're going to have a ceremony and everything. I'm going to have to actually go into the throne room with a presence of all the nobles and everybody and upper echelons. And I'm going to have to declare in front of Ariel that I need to pick up Aisha. And then she needs to approve of it. Luke, you said you were getting to the main topic, but isn't this intro a bit long? It was Father who stepped in and helped. Reese is like, dude, you're getting way too complicated. Chill out. When he said that, Lord Luke shrugged. These formalities matter, you know. Fine, just teach my son the coolest, most effective way that you pick up a woman, please. Father bowed his head, and Lord Luke looked genuinely annoyed, but eventually sighed and said, a carriage, a 2-horse, 2-passenger coach is best. Make it as luxurious as possible. The horse should be white. Black is okay, but no brindle or spotted ones. On the way back, wait at a spot where her acquaintances are likely to pass. The service entrance of the castle is ideal. Be sure to make an appointment, but don't reveal anything. Just say, I'll come to pick you up that day. And after that, when she arrives, just say one line. I've come to get you. Let's go. No need to say anything else. That's really enough? Yeah. After that, take her to a villa or an inn and, well, you get the idea, right? Okay, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple. I mean, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? This time, my father made a genuinely disgusted face and muttered, what kind of prince is that? But Lord Luke's method was definitely effective. Back when I was attending the Renoa Magic University, I remember hearing some of the girls talking about something like that. One day, a prince would come pick them up at the school gate, riding a white horse. It was that kind of story. But when I thought about it, there were a few things that seemed different from the girls' ideal. Why a carriage? Wouldn't it be better to ride a horse together? Showing yourself out in the open would lead to rumors. Oh, are you okay with that? But many ladies do care about that kind of gossip. It's best to keep where she went that day vague, and then make a public announcement later. She'll be happier that way, thinking, I'm being cherished. He's serious about me. Yeah, I guess that's the whole idea of, like, with the girls talking about the idea of the white horse appearing. They never really think about the next. They're not thinking about the next. Luke is thinking about the next because he's probably gone through this scenario probably 100 times. Let's be honest. He's probably done this all the time back in school, especially. Like, he's done that. He knows where it leads to. The girls will only think about the moment. Could you not teach my son those garbage tier tricks? You're the one who asked me to teach him. My father was acting kind of strange, but that was fine. It was strange to me at the time, but my father often acted strange anyways. What I want to say is the important thing is to grant her wish. I doubt Aisha will be pleased with a white horse or a carriage. You guys should know better than me what she really wants. Even if you haven't seen her in years, start by thinking about that. Aisha's wish? There's no way I could know something like that, but I do know what's important to Aisha. I also get what kind of approach she likes. Understand. Thank you very much. My father frantically said, are you sure? You really shouldn't copy him too much. But in the end, it was the same as when I fought Red Mama. I just had to think with my own head and give it my all. Yes! I love that last bit right there. What would Aisha want? Him. In the end, it's just him. I mean, that's the whole problem with a lot of these, like, romance elements is, like, that whole overthinking about what do I get him? What do I need to hear? What should I do here? And it's always about, like, they just want you. In the end, you are what's important. There's a side of me that almost thinks, like, you know, bringing the kid, but I don't know. The kid can come after that. It's not like the kid needs to be there right then. She's going to come back to that kid. I think it's just him. I think it really is just him. Being with him. I've done it. I'm successful. I made it. I'm alive. And I've successfully been able to obtain what I needed to obtain. Approval. That's all. I prepared the carriage, just as he said, a box carriage, but bigger than he suggested. A 4-person carriage pulled by 4 white horses. I also made an appointment, knowing Aisha, she would have properly said her goodbyes to the relevant people by that day. After finishing her work, Aisha walked home from the royal castle to her lodging. Apparently, she walked with some maid friends that she got close to. There's a few things here. Her lodgings is one of those moments where it's like, why can't she just go to freaking Reese's second house there? That's another one of those moments like, just let her stay there. But again, this whole idea of her trying to get away from that stuff, trying to get away from Reese's family and grow. And so, yes, technically going there, she's going to be with, you know, all the services that are there, as well as being above people there, the maids and whatnot. And technically, Lucy's there. But I like that. That's a sign right there. Even though she's technically right now not a maid, she's conversing and being friends with maids. Right here, she no longer sees herself as a servant, and now she's going to the academy and working for Ariel royalty, and she's still bringing herself down to here. She's still hanging out with maids. She doesn't look down on them. She doesn't look down on them. It wasn't a very long distance, and because it was a noble district, the security was good. Walking still made me a little uneasy, so I'd be lying in wait along her route home. If someone like me could wait in ambush that easily, that alone was a cause for concern for me. If I can ambush her, why didn't somebody else do that? That said, only those who have permission could bring a carriage into the royal castle, so I wanted to believe that part was safe. Yeah, I'd imagine that Luke is probably keeping anybody at bay from being suspicious of you. Of course, I wouldn't block the way with a carriage or anything. It was just a means of transport for going home. And I didn't just prepare the carriage, I prepared a banquet. I went back home once and picked flowers from the garden. They were the flowers that Aisha loved and used to grow herself. That's a good one. Good thinking. Again, this is apparently something he thought for himself. I even received flowers from Bite, the baby treant, to complete the bouquet. When I brought it close to my nose, it smelled like our garden at home. That's a good one. That's a good one, boy. I could have gotten scolded for picking them without permission, but I didn't take all of them, of course. I also helped take care of the flowers, too, so I'd like to think that taking a few was okay. At the very least, Bite and Grandma Zenith seemed to approve. That's all you need. Zenith is all the approval you need. Nobody's gonna talk back on Zenith. When I said I wanted some flowers, they even offered it up themselves. I also got some new clothes from a favorite clothing store in the Kingdom of Renoa. It was a store my father used regularly, and he came along with me, but it was the first time I expressed my own preferences, chose something, and bought it myself. Your big boy. Your big boy got his own pants. He's such a grown-up. He's such an adult. Both the shop staff and my father said it suited me well, but when I looked in the mirror, I felt like I was being worn by my clothes instead. Maybe it was because I was used to seeing Red Mama all the time, but I really thought the Sword God style jacket suited me better. Yeah. This is the kind of the sad reality. He's trying to be something he's not in order to impress Aisha. And there's like an element where it does get a little bit too much, where I feel like people try too hard to be something they're not. He's trying to impress Aisha. He's trying to surprise her, give her something. And so yes, dolling himself up is perfectly natural. This is something that's perfectly going to happen. But there is another side of it where it's like, yeah, but you showing up as yourself, just being a little bit better looking, would probably be more impressive though. If he shows up with some slick gear that is still in the Sword Guy style and probably looking pretty damn buff and grown up, they're gonna swoon some people more than showing up in a jacket or something like that, you know, like a suit. As the promised time drew near, I got out of the carriage and waited for Aisha. The castle's side entrance was so big, I wasn't even sure you could call it a side entrance. And many people seemed to go home from there, on horses or by carriage. Well, of course, they worked at the royal palace, so most of them must have been nobles or close to it. Even the maids around here were daughters of low-ranked nobles sent into service, and the soldiers may have been commoners, but only those with clear backgrounds were allowed in. Those people glanced at me, whispering as they passed. There were a few kids around my age too. When they saw me, they seemed to realize something and quickly walked off. She's already knows. She's already told them. I bet she already knows and she told them. I could hear whispering voices. The girls were whispering, but it was clearly in an excited tone. Still, none of them asked what I was doing because they know who he is. They're like, is the boy here for Aisha? Is the boy here for Aisha? Because, yeah, he had to get approval here. She probably got the info quick. Still, no one asked me what I was doing. Well, I was dressed up and holding a bouquet. It should be pretty obvious. Maybe this was a mistake. I never thought about it until the moment, but what if Aisha rejected me? Legitimately. We know Aisha, but legitimately this is a concern. Is the idea that this girl has been sort of, again, groomed for this position with Rudius and was in this house for so long. Yes, working for the mercenary band and whatnot and doing all that kind of stuff as well, but this was her, like, world was right here. And she was fine with that. Again, from her perspective chapter, this was comfort. I didn't need anything. I was getting paid and I was serving somebody that I respected, and everybody else is useless. She was comfortable. She was in a state of comfort. And so getting outside that bubble, the question mark is She gets outside that bubble and starts growing more, and this is a good thing for her mentally. Now that she's accepting people underneath her, she's hanging out with maids. Again, people under her. She's no longer looking down on people. As we've seen with that wrap-up point, it got into the idea that this girl grew a lot through this whole experience. She changed so much from being away. There's a chance that her new mind maturing much more, that she would find, yeah, that was kind of just a little boy. Yeah, again, from her perspective, it even implied the idea that he changed during that time. There was an element there that was almost a fear that we can never be lovers because we can never have a family. We would never be a family. There was a break there. She acknowledged there's a break in this relationship, and I don't think this is actually normal. He's acting different. We can never be a family. And a lot of that was due to the fears that she had around Maurice and stuff, but still, there's a break there. But I do think up until the point where she had the child and, you know, they were spending a little bit of time together, that brief moment before she left, they're family. That fear's gone. They've been accepted. She's taken her punishment. She doesn't have that element in her mind anymore. And I assume that, yes, this is something that she wants to come back to. But I don't blame him for having a fear there. That she would grow so much over this 4 years plus that she'd suddenly just be like, oh, it's that kid again. Yeah, about that. No, I'm good. I'm good here in Astra. Go on with your life. I'm good. Doubt, though. Doubt. It's not like people were laughing at me, but I really started to feel like I'd picked the wrong outfit. The fashion scene. No, he's just thinking about his outfit. I'm just totally talking. I'm going on this rabbit hole about doubts and like the fact of her changing, and he's just more worried about her rejecting him because he looks stupid. The fashion sense between Astra Kingdom and Renoa Kingdom is different, or maybe I just felt out of place. After all, I was the only one dressed like I was going to a party. Aisha's practical and competent. Wouldn't it have been better to visit her place casually? Or maybe go flashier? Again, it goes back to the whole idea where I think it's because she's going to acknowledge the fact that you've gone this far for her. That's the important thing. Again, I say it all the time. It's more the fact that she just wants you, boy. Don't worry about all the flashy stuff. She just wants you. If you just showed up with, like, whatever you were training in that day, rushed to the teleporter, got to here, ran to that gate, and you're covered in dirt and everything, she would embrace you just as quickly. All this stuff is just to show that you wanted to go that extra mile. Or maybe go flashier, like I'm ready to throw some whole party or something like that. No, you have something up on the gate throwing down confetti. No, that's definitely not the way to go. As I waited with all those doubts building up inside me, I saw a woman come out from the royal castle. Her hair was reached about her shoulders, was pinned up, and the hair ornament I once given her swayed in her head, and her outfit, how do I say this? It was a dress. A bright red dress. There was no way she was working in that outfit. Maybe she was heading to a party. She knew. Get me. It's sneaking up on me right now. Maybe she was heading to a party. No, not that I was so dense, as I seriously believe that. Aisha had dressed up for me. Just like I dressed up, Aisha also came in clothes appropriate for the occasion. The moment I realized that, my heart swelled up so much that I thought it might burst. There's no way Aisha would reject me. She too, surely, had been waiting for all this time. Waiting for me to become an adult and pick her up. Of course, I didn't think she was just waiting. The impression I got of Aisha, from what Lord Luke told me, was a bit different from the Aisha I knew. It was no doubt true that Aisha was capable, and that she was a highly sought-out person, same as always. But the idea that she had been held in high regard as an important figure by others, I don't think that was part of how people viewed her in the past. Aisha was competent, and I loved her. But within an organization, she used to be the type to be completely hated by people who disliked her. Well, even now, I'm sure those people that disliked her. You can't be liked by everyone. But just hearing how others talked about her made me think I should probably try to change the parts of herself she thought weren't good, so she could be with me, so we could both grow up and become full-fledged adults together. Cute. That's cute. That's cute. And again, this is the assumption that we have based on the little information that we got of how much she changed while she was working there, that she became something more. She grew up a lot. She got rid of a lot of the nasty parts of her, the parts of her that was pretty much using people, manipulating people for her own gain. She no longer looking down on people, that kind of stuff. But I think it's sort of discrediting her a lot because it did imply that a lot of people within the mercenary band really did respect her and wanted to help her. They weren't being blackmailed, apparently. They were wanting to protect her because they respected her and they wanted to do that for her. But there was probably still a lot of people that hated her. I think there is a side of it that where people probably their first impressions of Aisha in the mercenary band was extremely negative. And then over time, they realize how competent she is and how much she's doing. They grow to respect her. They're not going to be buddies with her, but they grow to respect her. So even if they don't want to go have drinks with her, they can still acknowledge what good they do for the group and that they're in that position they are to have the life they have within the mercenary band because of her. Probably, surely. Hey, you've grown up, huh? Aisha stood in front of me. For the first time in a long time, I had Aisha right in front of me again. Over the past few years, I think I've seen all kinds of women. No matter what, whenever I saw a woman with a large chest, I couldn't help but look. Instinctively, I'd find myself thinking I wanted to touch them or hold them. It's only been a few years, but you've changed so much. Wow. I always thought I liked you, Otis, but maybe I've fallen for you all over again. But when I saw Aisha, I thought once again, huh? Hey, Otis, what's wrong? The one I loved is Aisha. And only Aisha. Huh? Uh-oh, don't tell me. You weren't waiting for me? Was it someone else? She's a dork. She's a dork. I mean, again, technically, he was supposed to get with one of Ariel's daughters or whatever, but it's like, I could totally see that. She's just playing into it. Aisha said that half jokingly, but with a hint of sadness. That's when I finally opened my mouth. I knelt down, held out the bouquet, looked her in the eyes, and said, I love you. Please marry me. Image. It's so crazy, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I totally am, because I knew that eventually I want to talk about this, but it's like one of those elements of like seeing something like this. It's like amongst all that up there, that show up there, that absolute show up there. Lemonade from Lemons. You got something like something positive came out of it. That's just sort of the reality of a lot of this stuff. It's like no matter how bad this was, there's still something beautiful out of it. Like I've heard of like an easy examples like assault cases where somebody still decides to have the child. There's like a beauty that comes from that. There's a child that came out of that horrific experience right there. And that child is a beautiful child, and they've grown up to do something great or just to be a blessing in people's lives. Horrific things that you can't condone or you have problems with, it eventually leads into something that is positive and beautiful in the end. It's gorgeous. In this experience, it's really Otis, this boy that really, I mean, both of them. It's both of them. I keep saying that. It's both of them have these really screwed up lives. But there's still something beautiful that comes out of it. I'll get into more of it later, though. Aisha opened and closed her mouth for a few seconds. Then she took in a deep breath. She straightened her posture and gently accepted the bouquet. Gladly. And just like that, I married Aisha. There was only one thing I wanted to do when I reunited with Aisha. I immediately invited her into the carriage that was parked beside the royal castle. My, that's quite a fine carriage. I didn't expect you to have such gallantry in you. Hey, Otis, have you turned into a lady killer while I wasn't looking? Stop it. Lord Luke suggested I prepare something like this when I consulted him. Consulting a womanizer, huh? Oh dear. Where is it you were planning on taking me, I wonder? You asked for advice on that too, didn't you? Well, it's fine. After all, I am now your wife, Otis. Today, I'll go wherever you want. You did get my big brother's permission, right? Aisha laughed cheerfully as she looked at the carriage and gave a polite bow to the man seated in the coachman's seat. The old Aisha wouldn't have bothered to bow like that. Yeah. Maybe if there was a custom of paying the fare up front, she might have tipped generously, though. Yeah, I could see her following any sort of protocol. Rather than looking at the outside, couldn't you go ahead and get inside first? Oh my, did you prepare some kind of present that'll make you really happy? Yeah, I hope it'll make you happy. As Aisha lifted the hem of her skirt, I placed my hand on the carriage door. I slowly opened the door, took her hand, and guided her inside the carriage. And inside, Aisha, huh? There were two people already seated. One was a woman dressed in a gown as elegant as Aisha's. Grandma Lilia. Mother. And the other, Leroy? A small boy. That's what I was kind of thinking. Again, that was my mindset went immediately to. Is potentially the boy. A small boy, about 3 years old, dressed neatly and formally. Such a good boy. At that age, I couldn't sit still, and there was no way I could have waited in a carriage like that. Of course, he wasn't usually this well-behaved. Maybe he knew who he was meeting that day. Even if he was just on the verge of becoming aware of the world, maybe he understood that today was an important meeting. In the end, it's exactly what he was saying earlier. I had to think for myself, what would make Aisha happy? Her family waiting for her. It's her husband, her mother, and her son. That she's been away from this entire time. Again, this is what I hate about this whole situation. There's something positive coming out of it. What I hate about this whole situation, just prior to this whole segment, is the fact that she separated from her child, and not only that, but her family, her mother, her husband, her fiance, or future husband, and her boy. But now she's gotten it all back at once. It's not just him showing up and let's go bang. I mean, they could still technically do that, but I'm assuming the potential here is just, I didn't do what Luke said and take her to some place to bang. I brought her family. That was the gift to her, was her family. I set all this up, which I should have known based on the fact that it's a larger carriage. I wasn't really trying to think that far. Aisha looked at the two of them, hesitated for a moment, and then exchanged a glance with Grandma Lilia. When Lilia gave a slight nod, Aisha extended her hands to Leroy, her son. I still hate the fact they separated. Again, this was Aisha's want. I'm not saying them. This was what Aisha wanted. Rudis himself even said, I don't like that. Hey there, little Leroy. You've grown so big. She slipped her hands under his arms and lifted him up with a firm hug. I'm your mama, you know. Do you remember me? Leroy silently shook his head. Of course he did. There was no way he could remember. Damn it. Mama. But Leroy had been told again and again by the women in the house that he lived in, the ones he called Mama, that they weren't really his mother, yet he never asked, then where's my real mama? Maybe he was too young, but even after he started speaking a little, he never asked. But I'm sure he always wondered. I had thought that I was giving him love. Everyone in the house did. Even the mamas in the house never treated Leroy coldly. Why would they? I don't see them doing that. It's like staying in the family right there. But those three mamas never tried to be Leroy's mother. It may have been vague, but there was always a line they didn't cross. And I could see that being very difficult because, again, they're used to the mamas aspect, the plural aspect. The fact that everybody's treated as sons and daughters and everybody's treated as mothers. To have this barrier on one of them is difficult, especially if it might lead the kid to thinking they're different some way, that they're wrong in some way. Why don't they cuddle with me like those ones? Why does Lily get to be cuddled even more so? There's a line always drawn. Mama. Mama. Leroy clung to Aisha and burst into tears. He couldn't speak well yet, but he could still understand things. I'd be surprised there. I think there is sort of a blood aspect there that I think could be triggered, but I'd wonder how that could be that much. There. I'm sorry we couldn't see each other for so long. It's not that I didn't like you, Leroy. I'd done something bad. That's why. I'm sorry, but from now on, we'll be together, okay? Again, I think that was just... I still hate it. I still think it was the stupidest thing for her to do. It annoys me. I love the aspect of distancing herself in order to change and mature, but I don't think it needed to be that drastic. She could have done this in that same town. She just needed to get away from that house. I think a lot of it, she just needed to get away from that house. She didn't have to get away from her child. Aisha, tearing up just a little, said that and gently patted his back. Then she looked over at me, over Leroy's shoulder. Addis, you really have become an adult. That's what Aisha said, with deep emotion. There was only one thing I wanted to do when I reunited with Aisha. That was how I truly felt, but even I understood that now wasn't the time to prioritize it. Oh, so he was actually thinking that he really wanted... There was this side of me that was like, oh, wow, this is actually really throwing out the fact that he doesn't, I want to bang. But no, he's literally saying, there's one thing I want to do is bang, but I know that I had to prioritize. It's such a Rudiest mindset. That is such a Rudiest thing. It's like, okay, thanks for ruining the moment. Thanks for ruining the moment. Like, it's okay. You have plenty of time. She's not going to disappear. Don't push yourself too hard or hold yourself back too much, okay? From now on, I'm with you. Perhaps sensing how I felt, Aisha said that to me. Well, it's true. Back then, I probably was trying too hard. I had become a grown-up, a father, heir to the Grey Rat family. That's what I kept telling myself. I thought I was just fired up, but I was probably overdoing it. Mother, Aisha turned from me and looked at Grandma Lilia. I'm home. Welcome back. I'm sorry, I couldn't become the daughter you wanted. At Aisha's sudden words, Grandma Lilia widened her eyes, but, no, I'm the one that tried too hard to raise you in the way I wanted. I'm sorry. She replied smoothly, without a moment's hesitation. It's a broken family. Damn, dude. Words they haven't been able to say when Aisha returned after running away together. Words that had always been in the back of their minds since that day, waiting to be said. Yeah, because it kind of implies the idea of, like, the moment they got home, there was a lot of, like, let's figure things out. Like Rudius was telling them, you gotta talk to her right. Y'all gotta kind of make things clear. You gotta make it clear that you weren't trying to force him into this. You gotta make it clear what you wanted, that this is love, and that you do want this thing. And honest, you gotta talk to her like that is the mom of the one that you want to marry. And then it went straight into the birth, and then went into, let's, look at the kid and take care of the kid for a second, and then get out of here. There was so much damage that happened, and the reuniting, and then just go. None of this stuff got sussed out, apparently. And again, I think this does come from that whole idea of why this is a good thing, even though I hate the idea of separating from the child. There is a good thing here in the idea that because of that gap there, Lilia had time to reflect as well. Lilia had time to reflect. Over the past few years, I spoke with Grandma Lilia many times. I believe that the only one who could mend the rift in the relationship between Aisha and Grandma Lilia was me, the one who caused it. You didn't do anything, dude. You were in an innocence position. I hate this. You were in an innocence, but he believed that. And again, there is an aspect here that there is an element of, again, Lilia believing that she forced it. That side, I half agree, because again, it's a gray area. That's why, even today, Grandma Lilia asked me again and again whether she should really come along, whether it wouldn't be better if only Leroy came, but I insisted that it was fine and brought her with us, because I knew that Grandma Lilia never truly treated Aisha like an object. She just had a strong tendency to be fixated on certain ideas. I'm actually getting emotional because this is a mixed bag. This is a mixed bag. She never truly treated her like an object. She just had a strong tendency to get fixated on certain ideas. Lilia is always fixated on ideas. That for sure, for damn sure, that is 100% yes. I see that. Again, with everything that she did with Paul and that family, with Grey Rat family, the moment that she caused what she did and that rift in that family by sleeping with Paul, she was fixated on that idea. And fixated on the idea of being a maid, and fixated on the idea of fulfilling that role with Rudius. Fixated on it, always fixated on it, never stepping out of line, even though she is technically part of the family. Treating Aisha as an object, sure. Again, we've seen signs that she does truly see Aisha as a daughter and does love her and does love that family. I guess in the end, what this is really saying from Otis's perspective is that he does acknowledge beyond all of the face value that is Lilia, because she always puts this front up, always putting this front up. And again, the willingness to attack her daughter because it harmed this thing that she's putting up, this maidhood that she's putting up. She doesn't see Aisha as an object. She does still see a daughter there, and that she does want to connect with that daughter. I think we did see it still kind of being true to now with those exchanges that she had with Aisha at the very end before they were separated. There is still an element here where this is still my daughter. I'm just so stuck on this thing, and I can't let this go. They probably had a deeper conversation later when they were alone, but at that moment, that was all, and it was enough. All right, then how about the four of us go to dinner? So I made a suggestion. Aisha smiled warmly as she heard it and got into the carriage. Yay, I didn't have lunch today, so I'm starving. Where are you taking me? There's a restaurant at the edge of the Noble District with a view of the nightscape. I was thinking we can go there. Ah, that place, huh? Isn't that the one that Luke uses to seduce girls? Mom, Otis has turned into a real playboy while I was looking. What should I do? Aisha, the young master did it all for you. I know, I'm just joking. Maybe I'm just a little too excited. Seeing you all again after so long, knowing we can be together again. Thank you, Otis. And you too, Mother. Aisha smiled a little awkwardly. It did feel like Aisha was being a little overly cheerful after seeing us again for the first time in a while. But that alone was more than enough to make me think, she hasn't changed at all. Just like the Aisha I remembered. The one who was full of life before we ran away. That's crazy. The Aisha I remembered, this is the one from before all that happened. Really. Because from the moment that they got caught, I think everything went downhill. He's not seen that side of her in a long time. Even when they were out there together alone, got his wish of being alone and playing family with her, it wasn't Aisha. Knowing Aisha, she might have been putting on that cheerfulness on purpose. Even so, both I and Grandma Lilia were relieved to see her act the same way as before. In fact, I might have been the one that was more nervous and stiff. I'm home. And so, Aisha came back. After that, I spent many years with Aisha. I attended the Oxford Royal Academy, graduated from it, and officially became one of Lord Orsted's subordinates, as well as my father's subordinate, and an assistant advisor to the Rudo Mercenary Corps. While learning the ropes of managing the corps from Aisha, I also traveled the world following Father and Red Mama. Eventually, I became the leader of the Rudo Mercenary Corps. And well, the rest is more or less what you two already know. Otis finished his story with those words. At some point, the two subordinates had sat down on the floor, listening with blank expressions. But once he wrapped up, they nodded in satisfaction. That was a pretty good story. Henry, you should take notes. When you come pick me up someday, it better be in a carriage. So these two are a thing already? Are these two a thing already? No way. There's no doubt that I'm the one that's supposed to be picked up in the scenario. What? He wants to be picked up in a carriage by her? What? The subordinate stood up while joking around and glanced at the book. Still, it really was just a diary, huh? With all the rumors and the people calling it Legendary Phantom Volume 29, I thought it would have something more amazing written in it. Or some insane secret. For me, it was something amazing. There was no way for me to know what my father was thinking back then. Thank you for finding it. Huh, if you say so. Personally, I have zero interest in what my old man thinks. Poor Richard. Well, I do wish we would have found it before Aisha passed away. There's a confirmation on there. I think they kind of was alluding to it earlier, but I was like a side of me that was hoping like out of nowhere Aisha walks in the door. What were you all talking about? But yeah, they did imply that she was gone. Bit of a stretch, don't you think? It's not like we were looking for it. Besides, the Aisha from back then is completely different than one we all know. The Aisha that Henry knew was a strict but kind person. She was tolerant of mistakes, and even with rigid types like Henry or Lucilia, she never got angry. She kindly, yet clearly, taught them what they should do and what to be careful of. He felt she was someone who would never look down on people less capable. Oops. You guys are family, so of course she was extra sweet to you. But yeah, I guess that elopement really did change Aisha. That same Aisha had passed away 6 months ago. Oh, so old age. According to Orsted, she was supposed to live a bit longer, but the past few years had been turbulent. Aisha had used her intellect to lead the Ogre God Empire to multiple victories. Under tight time constraints, she efficiently expanded the Ogre Empire territory. She worked tirelessly day and night. It must have been hard work for her. She died during wartime. It wasn't the kind of environment that could hold a grand funeral. But even so, many attended her service. Everyone cried. They were grieving without any ulterior motives. It was genuine. So she wasn't holding black... It wasn't blackmailing. I know this is a really bad one to put in there. It's not blackmailing. Her strategy saved many lives. But it wasn't just that. Her presence, her consideration, her kindness, those saved people too. That's why she was loved. And Aisha accepted that. Not out of calculation, but from the heart. If Rudius, who wrote this diary, could have seen that scene, he would have surely smiled in satisfaction. Again, that's what they were talking about before. That she had changed to the point where she was no longer manipulating people. This does more seem like the idea of back then with Mercenary Band and stuff, it was all about how can I manipulate people to serve the Mercenary Band and, again, have dirt on them to prevent them from turning on Orsted if the Man God came to them. It was all about how to use people for my own benefit. How can I manipulate people for my own benefit? How can I build this empire to make it stronger for my own benefit, for this benefit, specifically Rudius and Orsted. This gives it more of a feeling of the idea that she wanted to do things to build things and everything, but there was an element of saving lives and everything and getting respect and everything, and it being about love, that it being about nurturing, making bonds, making connections. Her presence, her considerations, her kindness, those save people too. That's why she was loved. There's a kindness behind there. There's not a manipulation. There's a kindness and a consideration there. I felt bad about a lot of things back then, but I'm glad we ran away together. Otis murmured. He knew that Aisha had changed after that elopement, but he was never told how she wanted to change or what she aimed for. Do you just not all talk? Did you never talk to your wife? Did you never talk to your wife? How long were you together? You're acting like you're skipping time like we are. Maybe it wasn't something that could be put into words, which is why she never said it. Whatever the case, Aisha must have reached the place that she had been aiming for on that day. I guess? She couldn't word it? But that's fine. I guess it's fine. You don't need the formula. You know what the result is. Girls changed a lot, and it seems like this is what she wanted. That's all that's important in the end. I'm really glad. Otis muttered, feeling as if a long-standing assignment, a long-held burden, a lingering regret, had finally been resolved. Let's visit Aisha's grave sometime soon. Yeah, after the next operation's over. It was a key mission in the invasion of the Ashura Kingdom. This operation was something Aisha herself had devised. After devising it, she passed away, as if falling asleep. They received her explanation, but there were still parts about it that were a bit complex. They couldn't say they understood her intentions perfectly, but they carried out the plan by following her footsteps. It was Aisha's final task. They had to succeed, no matter what. So much of this is something that she built up on. I mean, they talked about the idea that she built up the group, helped them get to the point that they were, and even all these different roles, which was apparently, according to Orsted, not something that she would have done before. This is what ultimately led to her passing away earlier. Not that I'm going, though. I'm staying behind. Otis was old now. He wasn't so old that he couldn't move, but long marches were tough. That was why he was assigned to guard the key fortress central to the mission. I'm gonna use your wind magic. You could just float around with wind magic. Come on. Just fly around. Come on. Isn't this the most important position? No, the enemy is not coming here. I'll just be sipping tea. It's a key location. Of course they might come. Nobody will come. I trust you guys. Hey now, don't say stuff like that. Right, Lucilia? I simply carry out orders I'm given. And the one that gave us the orders is him. If he says no one will come, then no one will come. Part of Henry and Lucilia's mission had been to conceal the existence of the fortress. Tracking down and eliminating anyone who obtained information about the fortress had always been part of their duties, and they believed they completed that task flawlessly. Still, there was always a chance. If the enemy acquired some information through some means, they would surely attack. If it were to fall, even by 1/1,000,000 of a chance, the Orgod Empire would lose half its territory. That's how crucial this place was. What is this? What would that be? They have this whole northern area. Again, that whole area is the Ogre Empire now. And then you have that mountain range right there, and then there's the Ashura Kingdom. You have basically that mountain range as a T. I guess like a route that goes to the mountains over here that would split it? What? What is this fortress that nobody knows about? And how could it split the entire region? Or the territory, rather. So much so that Orsa didn't hesitate to place his most trusted subordinates here. And Otis understood that, which is why he could laugh and speak so calmly. It was like he was saying, you guys don't need to worry about the rear. Just focus on what's in front of you. I'm more worried about you two. Don't die out there. Because Otis wouldn't be in the front lines. Everyone else was busy running around the battlefield. Henry and Lucilia was no exception. They'd be walking straight into death's door. The Ashura front would become a battlefield where no one's survival was guaranteed. Sending young people off to such a place left Otis with complicated feelings. Yep, I'll do my best. Don't worry, I won't die. But contrary to Otis' concern, the two young people responded with remarkable nonchalance. Were they taking death lightly? Or did they just have excessive confidence in themselves? Hey, you two. Otis tried to scold them, but he trailed off and gave a wry smile. Maybe because he just finished talking about his younger days, he suddenly felt strangely embarrassed. The same foolish kid was now in a position to guide others, getting exasperated by foolishness of the next generation. They say time shapes a person, but in most cases, the person themselves doesn't realize it. Having a dad. I mean, he's had plenty of these moments, I'm sure, at this point. This dude's old. It's not like suddenly because he read this book, he's suddenly like, oh, that's right. That's what old people think like. He's probably had this moment so many times before, but it's just a moment of going like, okay, yeah, I just pretty much divulged my foolishness of a kid, and now I'm going to now get on somebody again. Otis was no different. He had lived thinking that he was still inexperienced, and now he was an old man. Surely these two, while acting foolish like this, would fail somewhere, reflect on it, grow from it, become adults, and eventually grow old. Yeah. Well, as long as you're healthy, I guess it's fine. Now go. I'll report to Lord Orsted, so make sure you get some good rest. If that was the case, then what he needed to do wasn't to scold them. It was to remain calmly in the rear, providing reassurance, and clean up their messes when they failed. That was enough. Just like it was with him in the past. As long as you're alive, even if you mess up, life goes on. That is Mushoku Tensei. That is like literally Mushoku Tensei right there is that paragraph. Every story in this, and especially Ruius' story, is the idea that no matter what mistakes you make, as long as you're alive in the end, even if you messed up, go on. Move forward. Next step. And he says it right here. Maybe Papa felt the same way, ? Yeah, that's Rudius. I'm assuming Rudius probably never told him. I think he probably just kept to his wives. And of course, Nanahoshi and whatnot. Within his actual family, it's just Aisha and his wives, apparently. Watching the two of them leave the room, Otis thought that Rudius had never quite acted like a typical father. If anything, Red Mama had felt more like a father figure. Sadly. When Otis became a father himself, he felt he used Red Mama as a reference. Pretty much, she was the one wearing the pants in the family. But maybe his father, Ruius, had been interacting with him with that kind of mindset all along. I want to joke about this, but it's technically kind of true. Again, I had this mixture of a feeling when they were talking about like how Otis was punished. It was mentioned the idea that White Mama did this, Blue Mama did this, Red Mama did this, and then Papa came home and he did nothing. And I was thinking to myself, well, if Rudius has the mindset that he's already been physically, verbally, and again, I was mentioning the idea that it's literally the physical punishment, the explanation, and the verbal punishment. He gets all sides of it there. Then what is Rudius supposed to do? But there was also the side of it that Rudius, whenever he comes home, he doesn't want to be an enemy. And he's always he's being nurturing. Like, he's just being lovey. He's never really doing much else outside of that. He's not giving enough guidance. He's not giving structure. He's not giving any firm boundaries or anything like that. I just don't want them to hate me. He's always thinking, I don't want them to hate me. Please don't hate me. It's literally Rudius's like lifelong trauma that he's always had. Please don't hate me. Please don't look at me like that. Don't feel disgust in me. And that technically turned into, in the end, even though the joke is there about, Edis being the father of the house, the husband of the family, that's really what it turned into, because Edis knows structure. She's knowledgeable about structure. She likes structure. She knows about the concept of correcting. She knows about kind of changing her path and structure in that way. Jokes aside, she has much more of a father position than really Rudius would ever have. Just because Rudius was so worried about not being hated in the end. But the only problem that goes against that is I don't really necessarily feel like Rudius is he's not a mom either, though. I don't really feel like, from what I've seen of him interacting with his kid, he's not a mom either. He's not lovey and doty. He's not, like, nurturing. He's not, I mean, again, I keep going back to it, but it's such a prime example. His whole response to that situation when they first ran into him again with Aisha running off. He didn't go up there and lovey-dovey nurture. He did a very kind of cold father thing. Walk up, nod, and walk past. In the family meeting, even before they ran away, Rudius didn't really do much besides say no. Like, he's not even fitting in the position of a mother either. He's in a broken spot. Like, overall, it's just a broken spot. I can't even really place it. But again, this is a unfortunate side effect to being just so, like, fragmented the story. Because once, like, we got to that certain point in the original mainline series, it just goes battle time, and we're just skipping forward and we're getting into the battle. And then now we're doing redundancy chapters, and these side chapters, it's jumping all over the place, and we're not getting to see, like, much of them interact. So I don't really get to get a sense of what he is as a father, besides what Otis and Lucy say, which is he doesn't seem to have much expectation of us. He doesn't scold us. He's not around, that kind of stuff. We're getting secondhand information from the kids, their perspective. But either way, I do feel like overall there's a swap here, because I really do feel like Aisha and Otis are very much so flipped the script from Rudius and Edis. And the idea that Rudius was the brains and Edis was the bronze, and now here Aisha is the brains and Otis is the bronze. And so what does that mean? There's a flip script here now. I have to act like Red Mama because she was the strength of the family. She was the muscle. She was the pillars that kind of kept the structure so that Aisha can work inside of it. So, coming back to this, but maybe his father, Rudius, had been interacting with him with this kind of mindset along. Maybe. Maybe he always felt like Edis was always the father. That's why he walked past him outside that house. Father handled it. Time for me to go inside. I don't like that either, though. I don't think that a father should not be present. I don't think a mother should not be present in a situation. I think they both should always be present in every situation. If not directly, indirectly in some way. But Papa, that's not how you treat your kids. That's how you treat your grandkids. Otis muttered this, and then turned his eyes down to the diary of Rudius. Even after death, Rudius continued to be spoken of, but as a father, he hadn't exactly been an exceptional father. Whoa. Rudius had never quite acted like a typical father. If anything, Red Mama felt more like a father figure. When Otis became a father himself, he felt he used Red Mama as a reference. But maybe his father, Rudius, had been interacting with them with that kind of mindset all along. But Papa, that's not how you treat your kids. That's how you treat your grandkids. Otis mothered this. What? It's setting it up as like a very hands-off thing where you don't scold them. You just kind of pick them up when they fall. Stay at the rear, observe, clean up their messes when they fail, provide reassurance. That was enough. Just like it was for him in the past. As long as you're alive, even if you mess up, life goes on. Rudius never quite acted like a typical father. Red Mama did that. Otis, molded after her instead. Perhaps Rudius had been interacting with him with that kind of mindset all along. But Dad, that's not how you treat your kids. That's how you treat your grandkids. I get what, at face value, this is saying. This is literally saying, Rudius, you weren't interacting enough. You were too distant. You were just like a grandparent. A grandparent is not always actively on the grandchild, always hovering over them, constantly guiding them. They're just watching what the father and mother does with their child, and every now and then coming in and helping out. It's giving me the impression right here he's equating what Rudius did in his raising of his kids as being more of a grandparent rather than a direct parent, which I don't know really I don't know really what to think about that. It makes sense. Otis, I think right here is going, that's sort of how I treated my grandchildren. I'm kind of being just like what Rudius... I'm having a buffer that a grandparent would have because the parents are supposed to be doing that work. So that makes me think of like almost Otis seeing, here's the children, here's him and the other, siblings. Then there was the mamas. They're right here. They were being the parents. And Rudius is almost being like a grandparent, only stepping in every now and then to do something. Just like, Lilia would be doing. Just like Zenith would be doing. I was doing that. When I became a grandparent, I was doing that. Every now and then stepping in there. Rudius was never really direct. Am I crazy in thinking that that's what it feels like? And I kind of see it. As Otis muttered and turned his eyes down to the diary of Rudius. Even after death, Rudius continued to be spoken of, but as a father, he hadn't exactly been an exceptional father. That's a sad thing. He so spoke highly of, but he wasn't really a good. He wasn't an exceptional father. It's not like he's saying he was a bad father. He's an exceptional father. I was hoping that some of that would have changed, but apparently not. Because again, way back there, I mean, he wrote it in a diary. Back there, it said that Rudius was like, "Yeah, I gotta work harder on this stuff. I gotta be more in their lives. I gotta speak to them more. I gotta help them out more." Rudius was acknowledging his failures. But that sort of was a bit late for Otis, right? Did he not do enough after that point to really correct it? That's sad. But still, it became clear from the book that in his own clumsy way, Rudius had truly tried his hardest to raise them. Otis had done the same for his own son. He felt he'd done a better... I just realized, yeah, technically, because he read this, because Otis read this, he knows about Rudius in his previous life. Because he just read the diary saying, I need to tell Aisha about my previous life. And he talked about what he did with his, niece. But it didn't imply that as he was reading that, he was shocked by it. But again, we're just kind of reading the diary with him. So it's not really giving too much of a play-by-play by Otis himself. But based on the fact that it's not really getting him going, but yeah, Dad was from a previous life, I'm assuming at some point he was told. And again, if they're getting his diaries, which these are supposed to be his diaries, if they're getting these diaries, he probably would have learned at some point. Still, it became clear from this book that in his own clumsy way, Rudius had truly tried his hardest to raise them. Otis had done the same for his own son. He felt he'd done a better job than his father, but he couldn't say it had been perfect. There had always been things that didn't go as planned. And now Otis' son, Leroy, also seemed to be struggling with his own daughter. You really do start to understand these things at this age. So he only had one son? I mean, he could have possibly had other, but it's implying that he's only had one son. Just Leroy. A younger Otis wouldn't have been able to understand how Rudius felt. Maybe even when his own grandchild was born, it still wouldn't have been enough. But now he felt like he finally understood, and a smile formed on his lips, thinking fondly on the similarities between his long-lost father and his own son. Eventually realizing those same similarities himself, Otis gently stroked the cover of the diary of Rudius. He held it carefully, so as not to damage it, and stood up. Then he springily stepped, belaying his age. He left the room to deliver the book to Orsted. Aww. I'm guessing another image of him with the book. Don't tell me that it closes with an image of him frolicking out the door. The last image of the volume is okay. It just says, I just have a note. There's an image here. I got this image of like, okay, yeah, he's just frolicking out the door because that was the last line that we really had. He's like, just gleefully running out the door. No, just him closing the book. That looks familiar. That image looks familiar. It reminds me of future Rudius. Just the picture reminds me of future Rudius. And that is Redundancy, Volume 3, folks. Interesting end to this whole thing. The thing that I get from this volume, putting Aisha aside, putting Otis aside, everything aside, I really do feel like this is a Rudius and his failures as a father. And again, a lot of that seems to be echoed by the fact that it opens up literally with Rudius saying, "This is my biggest mistake," and it ends with literally Otis saying he wasn't exactly an exceptional father. It's despite that, I'm still here. I still made it. He still pulled things through. Like, we're still alive in the end. Like, at the end of the day, mistakes aside, something comes from it. I mean, that was like the whole thing with Aisha herself and Leroy. It's like, despite like the fact that she did something that shouldn't have been done, despite the fact that she gave in to Otis when she really shouldn't have. She said, no, wait till you're older. Not going to happen. She fed into it. She allowed it to happen. Despite that, something beautiful came of it. Like, in the end, something beautiful came of it. There's still a positive end note. Same thing here. This entire volume is, let's look at a bunch of really massive mistakes, and then something positive came in it. In the end, everybody makes mistakes. nobody's going to be perfect. Rudius, it seemed like he tried, but he kind of screwed up. I had to look to Redis and how to be a proper father because he wasn't really a proper father. Again, I'm saddened to see that despite the fact that it seemed like he wanted to fix things, he wanted to do better, it didn't seem to reflect on Otis anyways. It didn't seem like he felt like that much changed. In the end, I'm still alive. I still followed in his footsteps. I still took up the mantle. I still chose to do exactly what he was doing. This was still my goal in life, was to take my father's house, the Grey Rat name, and carry it forward. He didn't hate his father in the end. There's still beauty in the end. Should I read the letter first, or should I give my rating on the volume? I don't think my mind has changed, and people know, based on previous Mushoku Mondays, where I'm going to kind of put this. The ending of this volume does help a lot. Actually, I think the web novel perspective of Aisha helped that a lot. But I do think the later chapters of this volume is at least putting some sort of flower on the end to make it a little bit easier to stomach. But I do have a lot of issues with this volume. I'm going to read the letter first. Let's read the letter. He says, Jobless red carpet. The term red carpet refers to red carpet rolled out to welcome important guests at ceremonies. And in this work, the title was chosen for dual meaning, red, and welcome someone important. In writing this volume, known on the web novel as Aisha's Arc, the first thing I thought of was, what would it take for Aisha's life to be a satisfying one? From the outside, Aisha's life might look easy and enjoyable, but from her own perspective, it boils down to a simple word, boring. There are no challenges in her life. Even if there are no more than minor inconveniences that don't go her way. She's not the type to face real difficulty. Even if she experiences some hardship, she reaches answers much faster than others and understands the path of those answers clearly, leaving her almost no sense of accomplishment. That is Aisha's life. Yeah, I get that. I really do get that. I do like that he's sort of emphasizing the idea of her life seems perfect and boring. I don't necessarily see that. From the outside, Aisha's life might look easy and enjoyable. People might see that she has a fulfilling and happy life, but for her, it's boring. I don't see it being enjoyable. I've seen suffering. I always seen suffering in her. To put it in terms of an average person, it would be like endlessly solving first grade math problems every day. Not exactly unhappy, but not satisfying life either. Everything is too easy for her. I believe that a fulfilling life requires some kind of hardship. It doesn't have to be unfair hardship. For example, if someone sets a goal of competing in the Olympics or becoming a professional baseball player, they will naturally encounter many difficulties, and by overcoming those, they grow older and mature. Even if they fail and choose a different path, the things they gain in the process, knowledge and experience, will be powerful and trustworthy assets in the next challenge. It also helps build compassion towards others' failures and setbacks, and maybe even shape their character. Probably. That's why when a person grows up without ever facing adversity, they can end up distorted in some way. Unless they have extremely strong self-love, they'll likely ask themselves, was this really the life I wanted? I agree with a lot of this. I do think there is an element where you need hardships in order to understand failures. And again, that was what we got a lot of with Aisha's perspective. It was like everything that she's seeing was so easy, she couldn't understand people's failures. So when it came time that she had to deal with other people and they were always messing up, she kept thinking to herself, why do you suck so bad? Why don't you Again, it was like the whole thing with her and Norn. Finally, there was a moment where Norn was looking at her going, why don't you understand this? It was the first time that she went, oh, that's what it's like. That's what it's like to not understand something. That kind of feels stupid. But yeah, I agree that through hardship, through failures, you sort of understand things better. You mature a lot through failures. And if you don't have failures, how can you understand successes better? I think there's a fulfillment that comes from failures. If you always succeed at things, did you ever feel a challenge? Did you ever feel like you accomplished something? I can't say that with absolute certainty, but that's Aisha. She's never experienced real failure, so she's strict with others. But since she can do anything, no one ever tells her anything. What she needs is failure, and not failure caused by someone else, failure caused by herself. that said Aisha doesn't fail when she's alone, so someone has to be involved. In this volume, you might say her failure stems from Otis, but what matters is that Aisha perceives it as her own failure. Because it is. Like, I don't think it's a perceived thing. I'm literally telling Refugin he's wrong, all right? I'm literally sitting here telling Refugin he's wrong with how he wrote his character. But my perspective is that I feel like, no, I don't think it stems from Otis because she accepted it. Otis is not old enough to force it. Yeah, Otis could have forced himself upon her, and that's a completely different subject here. But it's the fact that she accepted it from somebody who is still in an age where it's considered by most people as being innocent. A lot of people in this volume, Rudius himself accepted he's too young, too innocent, even though he kept saying it's a typical love story or romance. When I originally wrote this story for the web, I couldn't do one important thing. That was give Otis Greyrat proper development. Yeah. Let me finish this. Otis, the character, is Rudius' child and doesn't appear in the main story of Mushoku Tensei. He's an extra. In my mind, I've already decided what kind of role he will play in the future, but that's about his future. As for who he is right now, even I wasn't clear on that, so I focused on Aisha and Rudius' mistakes and didn't write much about Otis. That was a mistake. Yeah. It's so funny because I literally just talked about I literally talked to somebody in DMs about this today. Like literally this morning, I talked about this. I talked about this before. I do think like one of the biggest weaknesses overall, I think with Refugin's writing, and not really weakness, it's just that it's not his focus. Like he's doing what he wants to do. And I always say that for any author, do what you want to do with your story. I'm not going to tell you. Yes, some people say the pacing sucks, or hey, I don't like this story and where it's going. This is not entertaining me. That's fine, but I do want Refugin to write what he wants to write. I don't like the idea of telling an author what they should and shouldn't do. I myself want more character. I've always loved Refugin's writing with characters because in a lot of cases his characters are very flawed, have done mistakes, and they're growing from it or falling from it. I feel like the later parts of the mainline series, he got away from that. I felt he got away from his characters. They didn't feel like he wanted to develop them anymore. He didn't want to get into them, have moments with them. And so when I got into Tale of Two Lifetimes, when I got into the redundancy, suddenly I'm like, yay! Finally, I'm getting these characters. I get to see the kids, where they're going and all that kind of stuff. But there is one still big problem. It's jumping around too much. So I 100% understand exactly what he's saying here. He's saying he came into Redundancy 3 going, I want to make Redundancy 3 about Aisha, but I need her to fall with somebody. Otis. I'm going to have her fall with Otis. That way she can understand because of how I've built her character. But the problem is I haven't developed Otis. He's saying the one from the picture that we see, the one talking to Henry and Lucille, that is the Otis. I know where he's going. He's already plotted out where Otis is currently, but I haven't plotted him as a child. I haven't gotten to that stuff. And so I threw him in with Aisha and her to learn her experiences here, but I'm failing Otis's character. I can see that. And that makes sense. I mean, we've seen it. We went through chapter 5 of it, but from what everybody's saying, the web novel was Aisha's perspective. So it makes sense that it wasn't really doing well enough to really develop Otis. And then what do we experience when we opened up this volume? He changed it to be Otis's perspective. Open it from page 1. Well, besides that little excerpt from Rudius, and again, technically Celia and Henry running. From the beginning, it's Otis telling the story. So yeah, this makes perfect sense as to why this entire volume has been Otis reading the diary, rather than it just being either Aisha or Rudius' perspective. But again, my own personal opinion, I really do wish there was more time spent to really kind of develop these characters. Because even though he did put it into Otis' perspective, it still feels disjointed. Because you're just jumping into the future and having him reflect back on it. You're not getting much of his in-the-moment thought processes. You're not building into it really, is the key thing there. We went straight from Otis gets born to Otis's, training with Lucy, to now he's banging Aisha. It's hard to really get a grasp of his character. Anyways, coming back here. As for who he was right now, even I wasn't clear on that, so I focused on Aisha and Rudeus' mistake, and didn't write much about Otis. That was a mistake. At the time, the comments on Shosetsuka Ninaru were divided. Many were critical, but many also defended it. That's always the case when I write something shocking, so that wasn't a problem. But I wasn't satisfied with it. Still, back then, I had no idea how I could write it in a way that would satisfy me. It took me 10 years to figure out that answer. This volume structure is a little unorthodox, and there may be readers who think, no, Mogonose Sensei, that's not the point. That's not what we were trying to say. But personally, while I wouldn't call it perfect, I'm satisfied enough that even if there's criticism, I won't be shaken by it. I wonder that I'm guessing what he's getting into here is that some people are upset more on the idea of what the characters did in this volume. And he's just going, no, my only problem, I didn't care about you guys upset about what I did. He's not regretting what the characters did in this volume. I'm personally not really that mad about it happening. I think there is a problem with the structure and how it flows and how some of it feels forced. But he's saying here, I don't have a problem with it. I don't like the structure is what he's saying. I got to fix the structure. I failed Otis's character. People might be upset about the fact that something happened in there. I'm just upset about how I wrote it. He's upset about how he wrote it. Looking back, when I wrote this arc for the web, I think I overestimated my own abilities. I believed no matter what kind of story I write, it'll be interesting. I can make it interesting. There's no doubt I was being arrogant, but at the time, I couldn't draft it in a way that satisfied me. That's why I was swayed by the criticism. And when the admin contacted me saying it violated the site's rules, instead of working hard to revise it, I chose to delete it. That might sound like a mistake, but considering it took me 10 years to revise it, maybe it wasn't. Anyways, let's get back on topic. Yeah, apparently that's the whole aspect of technically having inappropriate stuff happening with a child involved. Both the aspect of, again, the niece, and I would imagine with Otis himself. He obviously changed the niece because the niece is now, it's pictures of them in the pool. She has a swimsuit on. It's much more toned down. But I'm guessing also with Otis himself, which would explain why they're so vague with his age. They never really say. We're having to come to the conclusion it's got to be at this age because of based on the time frame here, but it seems like it's trying to keep it vague. It doesn't want to come out and say it. But anyways, it violated the rules, and he decided to just, rather than revise it, he just deleted it. But it seems like he's perfectly fine with it because it took him 10 years to revise it. I'm just more glad that he went back and did it. Again, I respect the idea of keeping with it. There is a side of me that, again, even if you might not like what it did with the characters, it's still, and even me personally, like I feel like part of it feels like a character assassination for Rudeus, even though I respect it. I give him mad respect for going back and doing it. Anyways, let's get back on topic. So that's Otis and Aisha. And then there's Rudeus. Regarding Rudeus' past trauma and his biggest mistake in his previous life, there isn't much change from the web version. Sins come back to haunt you. The only real difference is that, due to changes due to limitations in the print versions, it might come across as a bit lighter. Yeah. I believe Mushoku Tensei is fundamentally a story about Rudeus facing his past life, his past, and learning to live better in his current one. By confronting the past, he repairs his present and enriches it. After I deleted this arc from the web, many people said this story was necessary. I feel the same. So, that wraps up Volume 3 of Redundancy, Jobless Red Carpet. This makes it the 30th volume of Mushoku Tensei. It's been a long journey. I owe this volume's release to all the readers, the editorial team, illustrator Shirotaka-sama, and everyone else involved. Thank you all so much. See you again in Volume 4 of Redundancy. Yeah, I would feel like a lot of people, shoot, don't delete it, bring it back out. This is what you want to do. Commit. Stick to it. And I'm not saying that he's not committing. He deleted it because it was violating the site, and he didn't like how he structured it. It was a structure problem, not necessarily a problem with what he wanted to do. This is what I want to tell. I wanted to do something with Aisha's character, and this is how I wanted to present it. And Otis is already very much so closely involved with her, and it makes perfect sense in my flow. This is what I want to do with the character in order to make them fall. She needed to fall. I need to make Aisha fall. Let's do this. Let's commit. I can see some people arguing that's a little bit forced, though, right? I can see some people seeing that's literally an admittance to forcing something, but it's sort of implied in that Chapter 5 web novel that she had made mistakes in the past. It's just that she's very good at covering it up. True. It's somebody else's fault. And that definitely comes from the perspective of somebody that feels like they're perfect. Always blame somebody. It's got to be somebody else's fault. Shoot, Linnea. She's technically, was Linnea's sensei as she was, doing her work as a maid in the Grey Rat household. Linnea's failures is her own as somebody that is supposed to be her boss. Anyways, mad respects for Refugien for putting out Volume 3 of this. And again, this story itself, it's not a pretty story. Overall, it's not a pretty story at all. Which that all brings us to, where does Volume 3 of Redundancy sit? God, after reading his letter, I do kind of, my brain does shift a little bit there, but I don't want it to shift. No, I've said before that I'm pretty sold on this being a C-tier volume. And that's mainly around the idea that I don't really have a problem with what happens in this volume. I don't. I think this is a very human thing here. I think it's an unfortunately disgusting thing in certain ways, but at the same time, it's a very human thing that, again, like I've always respected Refugien for doing, addressing subjects like this. Because these are things that unfortunately do happen in the world, and not talking about a lot of this stuff does more damage than, what you would perceive as it being something that is controversial to talk about. So I give him a lot of credit for doing this. It does make a lot more sense to me now that he's kind of referencing the idea that he didn't do well enough with Otis's character with the web novel, and now doing it here, that a lot of my concerns around Otis is sort of confirmed. It's sort of confirmed right here. But I think overall, this volume's weakness is, again, not the controversy, it is the flow. I feel that despite the efforts that he had in restructuring this, it feels forced in some ways. Certain moments feel like it's trying too hard to really kind of push things to happen. And in the end, it is not my favorite volume. Do I still think it's C, though? I don't think so. I really don't think. I think the C comment that I made before was a very knee-jerk. Looking back on it, I don't know. Let me look at what else is in the C category that I had before. There's a chance it might be B-. It's not going above B. 100%, I'm going to say it right now before I even open up the tier list. It's not going anywhere above B at all, for damn sure. It's like Volume 3 was a B, 2 was a B, 4B. What else is in there with B? What's a C volume? What I put in C? Volume 10. See, I like Volume 10 more than this. Ouch. Volume 7. Do I like Volume 7 more than this volume? Yeah. I think it's going in C, guys. There's so much in C that I like more than this volume. I think it goes C. It's not better than Volume 7. I do think I give 7 a little bit too much of a negative, and that's really not really necessarily about what happens in 7 that's really critical. There's a lot of really good stuff in 7. It's just it overall as a full volume has problems in my mind. But again, this is like a bunch of volumes that are like A to S tier that I need to kind of separate in a tier list. Even if I gave one of these an F tier, it's not like it's F compared to a lot of other stories that I've read. These are all like tiers within an S tier. So think of it as S tier Mushoku Tensei, but the C category of S tier. I think it's C. I think I can't go above Volume 20, 18, 7, 10. Like, this as a volume is down there for me. Yeah. Volume 3 of Redundant Reincarnation is a C tier of the Mushoku Tensei franchise. Not terrible, but not the best of this series overall. But that's it. That is it for this Mushoku Monday. I hope you guys enjoy this Mushoku Monday. I'm sorry to leave it on a negative. It's not a negative. Like I said, I keep having to reiterate this. C isn't terrible. It's just C amongst all the other volumes. I can't put it above so many other volumes of this series. But anyways, chat, hope you guys enjoy this Mushoku Monday. As always, I really do appreciate you guys' support, all your kind words, everything that you guys do for me. It's absolutely fantastic. Your guys' support is overwhelming. But again, like I said earlier, I don't really know exactly where we're going to go next. I thought about doing, because it's about that amount, 2 segments on Nanahoshi, the gourmet or whatever, banana food. I wasn't sure if I want to do 2 segments on that because it's listed as redundancy, and so I kind of assume it's probably going to end up in redundancy volume 4. I'm going to ask a few people. I've already been told by a few people that, yeah, it's probably potentially going to be in 4, so you might want to, but I'll decide. You guys will know next week. But until then, until we come back, I greatly appreciate your guys' support, your kind words, and yes, greatly appreciate by support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But until the next Mushoku Monday, take care. Taught them what they should. Taught them what they should do. God, I really wish it would say who's talking. Isn't that the one Lord? Isn't that the one? Isn't that the one Lord? Isn't that the one Luke? Isn't that the one that Luke uses to seduce girls? Isn't the one? Is that? I received some flowers from Bite, the baby tight.